Welcome to the third of 7 sessions about business planning for agritourism enterprises. Today, we're going to be focused on marketing, and we are joined by Kelly Hepler from Ayanta and the Colorado Agritourism Association. I'll give Kelly a proper introduction in just a moment. First, I wanted to let you know that my name is Lisa Chase, and I'm with University of Vermont Extension and the Vermont Tourism Research Center. And this webinar is hosted jointly by the Global Agritourism Network and the National Extension Tourism Network Agritourism Working Group. Thanks to funding from a grant from the Northeast Extension Risk Management Center, we are able to offer this series free of charge, and in some cases, one-on-one technical assistance as well. Before we jump into marketing, the topic for today, I just want to take a couple minutes to find out who is here in the virtual space with us. And I'm going to drop a poll into chat that is specific, not into chat. I'm going to drop a poll onto the screen that is specific to today's topic of marketing. Now I'm going to end the poll now and share the results. So on your screen, you should see that a small percentage, 7%, hey, that's something. They've got their marketing plan. 13% say yes, but not for agritourism. About a third are working on it, and almost half don't yet have their marketing plan. Well, today we are going to focus on some issues related to marketing, some of which, like market research, have come up in past sessions, and we kept saying, wait, hold on to these questions. We're going to get to them today. I'm now going to turn it over to Kelly Hepler to tell us more about the marketing sections of your business plan. Kelly is a nationwide agritourism specialist for the American Indian Alaska Native Tourism Association. She's based in Southwest Colorado and is the president and one of the founders of the Colorado Agritourism Association. Her focus areas are agritourism, business development, marketing, and using storytelling to educate visitors on the farm, which is what made her the perfect choice to lead this conversation today. Kelly, I'll turn it over to you now.
Great, thank you, Lisa. I just wanted to make a quick comment about the photos you're looking at. Sunflowers are some of my favorites, so I threw that in the background for good luck. And the top picture is a photo of myself and my daughter. I'm on the right, she's on the left. And the person in the bottom is my son. He used to do saddle bronc riding, and that photo is just such a good one. We like to share it. And is working on a ranch in Montana as a ranch manager. So marketing. We're going to start with marketing. Thank you for joining us today. It's one of the chapters in AgPlan. And one of the biggest things about marketing is getting their attention. And who are they? And right here we have a picture of Bucky. He's a little yak, and he wanted my attention, and he sure got it. He knew his target market for sure. So inside of the marketing plan, it's going to depend on a couple of things. Why are you doing agritourism? Who do you want to reach? And what are you offering? Are you doing agritourism for money? Do you want to add to your farm offerings? Or maybe you just want to educate the public about your lifestyle, about agriculture in general, about why farmers and ranchers do the things they do to grow the foods and gather the foods that we have. Maybe it's because you want to share your culture or your story. You've got something important to share with the world that is part of a bigger picture, part of a bigger story. Maybe you're just bored and need something to do. I don't know very many people in agriculture that are bored, but if that's your case, determine why. And the who is going to be coming to your farm or your enterprise to see what it is you're doing. Are you going to appeal to school children, those groups, maybe families? People looking for nostalgia. Here in my area, one of the first things they'll do when they get to the farm, the men will run a tractor and jump on it. You know, little old antique tractors, and they love when they do the Green Acres scene. maybe they're foodies and they want the freshest, nicest food. Many of us know that food that's harvested straight from the vine, right when it's perfectly ripe, has the highest nutrient density to them, and it makes us feel good. Aspiring farmers, sometimes they want to come and see, how do I do this? I want to be a farmer that's raising lavender, and I want to see how other lavender people do it. And then there's another group that we find common here where I live in Southwest Colorado, is reconnecting to the community. They want to know who the people in the community are. They want to know who's growing their food. They want to be part of that big picture. And then what are you offering? Are you going to offer tours, food experiences, maybe concerts, value-added products? Maybe you're just going to offer a location for weddings. Some of the farms, all they do is keep their farm looking pretty in one little corner and charge hundreds of dollars for brides to get their pictures taken there. So the sections inside of AgPlan are going to be marketing trends. And just an interesting fact, the global agritourism marketing size was valued at $5.95 billion in 2021 and is expected to develop at a compound annual growth rate, it's called CAGR, which is new to me, compound annual growth rate of 11.4% between 2022 and 2030. Some of us, if we were putting our money in the stock market, 11.4% of growth would be a great deal. We'd love that. Who are your customers? Market segments, your target markets, markets, sales strategy, who's your competition, pricing, promotions. And promotions, I'll give you just a quick, promotions are ever changing. They can be, the social media market. And I mention this because we just came through, everybody was doing print, and now we've slipped away from the print a little, and now we're doing online and social media, and there's new channels and opportunities in that all the time. So if you put your brain into 2030, what are we going to be doing then? Are we going to be packing around cell phones, or are we going to have little antennas on our head that just broadcast to us or send out? We don't know. I'm just giving you a George Jetson overview there. And then finally, the strategic partners, and those are extremely important in small rural areas. One of the things we found is that if you live in a very small or population that's not near an urban center, what you will find is that for every 3 hours to where they are to your farm or your enterprise, it takes them for every hour, they need 4 activities to do. So let me say that again. For every hour they travel, they need 4 activities when they arrive to your site. So if they've traveled for 3 hours, they need 12 choices of things to do. Now I've changed my words to choices instead of they have to have things to do. Choices is the key word here. You give them choices. They may only do 3 things while they're there, but the perception is that I've got plenty of things to do when I get there. If I start doing one and I don't like it, I can skip and go to another. So it's important to have those choices, and that's where your partners can come in, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Marketing trends. What is happening with agritourism locally, regionally, and statewide? What are your threats and challenges? Consumer demand, competition. How is this going to impact you? When farmers are aging out, this picture shows a woman with Small Potatoes Farm. She and her husband were in their early 80s, they had a small farm. And what they decided to do was build this beautiful outdoor oven that she bakes bread in to bring people in. And then Small Potatoes Farm is run by Farmer Scott. He's taken over their farmland and is doing all of that work and keeping it in agriculture. So there's a partnership that can be formed there. Another trend that we're seeing is a lot of Native American chefs are making mainstream media channels, as well as you've seen maybe Killers of the Flower Moon. Native American is extremely popular right now. If you're one of the native producers on the call, take advantage of that. Take advantage of those trends, and that people want to try that food, and people want to go to the places where films have been shot. Marketing customers, who are your customers? Will they change? Of course. Are there new customers that you want to gain? Probably. And demonstrate that you understand your current and future customers. And it's important to know this. It's important to know who they are so that you can tailor your offerings to their needs and their preferences. Think about if they are trend seekers, the people who want good water cooler discussion on Monday, or if you're a web person, maybe you're in Hollywood Squares number 12 and you want to be able to share that you went to a farm. Or are they loyal customers, regulars who love to support the local farmers, the local growing community? Marketing segments. Segments are a little different than your customers. They are your customers, but let's put them into pots. And I know in today's world, we don't like to put people into categories and pots and etc. But we kind of have to. It's like your garden. You can't just throw all the seeds into one place and throw water on them and expect it to yield the results. You have to keep them in rows so you know how much water and what kind of message you need to give to each one of them. So think about the demographic, their age, gender, and occupation. Where are they geographically? Are they local people? Are they national, international? Are they rural people already, or are they urbanites who will show up on your farm wearing 4-inch heels? We had a media writer do that. She was from New York and came to a farm to check out the lambs and had on stilettos. But she played the game and was a good champ for it. Individuals, locals, visitor groups, and lifelong learners are all segments and categories of people that you might want to attract to your place. Let's see here. Let's go. Let me give you an example too. You know, a person with a 1-hour commute and a person who works from home. They got two different places that they're starting from. Both are females, 35 years old, married, have no children, have good earnings, and have a backyard garden. Well, you've got two people that look like they're really similar, but one of them's in a car for an hour, and that gives you a chance to hit them up with radio. And the other one is working from home, so maybe the social media message might appeal to them or might find them, their eyeballs more readily. That's just a real simple example of what we're talking about with how do you reach those markets. So now what we'd like to do is ask you to grab a piece of paper, grab a gulp of water. I'm going to do that in a minute, and write down the answer to the following questions. Just think about this. How do you market to your segment? Who is some of your marketing segments? I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Like list 2 or 3 across the top of your paper, and then put in each one of them, how am I going to market to the commuter? How am I going to market to the in-home person at home from work? And how am I going to market to somebody who goes into a corporate business and has a whole different thing? Or somebody who's a little recluse, how am I going to do that? So think about that, and think about which offering does this market segment purchase? Where do they spend their dollars too? Think about some of that. Once you've got your segments figured out, your pots of markets, you can look at which segments do you want to target. And those segments may be, if you're trying to make money, maybe it's people with the most discretionary income. If you're trying to talk about your culture and your heritage, maybe it's the people that have an education that seeks out that type of thing. Maybe they're birders who already respect and love the habitat, and they bring their binos and their cooler with their wine and cheese, and they don't need a lot of care from you. They just want to be there. So think about particular market segments that you want to target, or people with people maybe that have moved away and are returning to connect to your community. Think about who those segments are and think about why do you want to market to them. It's important to know who your best customer is and who your customer is that maybe you don't want them to come by and see you at all. With marketing, you have the privilege of being able to not just promote to people, but also to repel people. You can't put your marketing message so that they want to come see you and you've got the things that they want. or you give them a strategy, you use a strategy that kind of repels the people you don't want. The people who don't respect your place aren't going to find farming especially fun. They're in the wrong place. Another one of the ag plan segments is going to be the sales strategy. Identify your target market segments. So you're going to do that. Create a campaign to go to each one of those target audiences. Is it going to include a mix of web and print, or all web, or what are you going to do to attract those people, to get them to come to your place? And then where do you place those messages? In today's world, they can be all over the place. Depending on where your people are listening. Are they online? Are they don't have internet access? So maybe you use things like flyers at the local convenience store or community center, your church, word of mouth. You put that message into the mouth of your neighbor who talks a lot, like me, and then they spread the news that you've got great stuff. And travel websites, they're another good one that you might want to consider. Take a look at who are your competitors. One of the things I've told people over my years of working with farmers and ranchers, and I've been doing this about 25 years now, is don't be ashamed or embarrassed, but find out who your competitors are and go to their farm and see what they're doing and see what you like about them. And why are they your competitor? Are they offering something similar, a similar price? They're just, you know, in a town next to you, so they're close. What makes them your competitor? Because they may not be your competitor. You might find that they could be one of your partners. How well do you compete with them? If they've got a big budget and you don't, then you might need to take a look at, again, why are they your competitors and how are you going to be able to compete with that? One of the things that all of us that are involved with AgPlan agree on is that you go into this with your eyes open. That's the purpose of AgPlan, to develop your business plan, to give you that forecast, if you will, of, boy, I am going to do it. I'm going to make good money at this, or I'm going to do what I set out to do, meet my goals, or, oh, there's no way I can make this happen. No way with the plan I've got. I've got to change some things. So you need to determine that. What are your advantages? Do you have extremely good quality? Are you the only one in the entire state of Colorado that has this particular apple growing on its trees, this particular heritage breed, for example? Do you have the best price? If your price is cheap, why is it cheap? If it's high, why is it high? What about your location? We've talked about that a little bit. Your facilities. When it comes to facilities, an advantage sometimes can be that it's the most authentic. It doesn't have to be Disney ready, where there's little groomed trails to this big barn with lots of lights and set for a Hollywood stage. It can be a barn that has a cow in it once in a while, or maybe all the time. Your facilities can be authentic. They don't have to be absolutely whitewashed, Puritan, perfect. Maybe you have a good place for a music venue. And maybe your farm, ranch, your enterprise has a history that is well known and people want to take part in that. They want to feel a part of that. Strengths and weaknesses. One of the things, if you identify a weakness, is that you just don't really like to talk much to people. First of all, we have to determine if that's an issue for you. If you don't like to talk to people, maybe somebody else in your neighborhood does, another person in your family, and you can figure out how to tell your story and get that person to come in. We have a couple in my neighborhood that they're farm geeks, they're fanatics. They go to all the farm tours and all the dinners they can get to, and they know them so well that they actually step in for some of the farmers when they get called out on an emergency or something. These folks will run their tour for them and they do a beautiful job. That's an advantage, definitely. Okay, now on that same sheet of paper, how well do you compete with your major competitors? And do you have advantages over them? Do they have the same apple you have? Do they have orchards with you know, your dinner in the orchard and little baby doll sheep wandering through the field, through the orchard, grooming all the weeds down and adding to the whole experience. What are your unique strengths and weaknesses? And again, think about that in the unique sense. And think about how you fit in differently. We're all different, so every one of us is unique in that sense. But what do you have that might stand out? And use it as a strength.
Kelly, do you want to take a moment to pause and let people answer that question? And I could ask you a question in the chat in
Oh,
the meantime.
sure. I'm looking at the time and just want to make sure I don't go over. Go
Okay,
ahead.
we'll just do one question and then
Sure.
we'll get back to the presentation. So one person wrote, I understand all the questions, but I need help to understand how to find the answers to these questions. You know, in other words, market research tips, how to, where to.
I'm going to give you a link at the end about some of that, but one of the things I do that's the cheapest way to find out is look at what other people are doing. If you really admire a certain operation, watch where they place ads, watch how they do their pricing, who are they target marketing, how much like you are they, and they don't have to be in your own neighborhood. You can pick somebody. I'm in Colorado, and maybe my big dream is in Tennessee, and so I watch them for a while and I mimic what they do. Then you get a feel for it. In terms of marketing research, check in with your local chamber of commerce or your local DMO, destination marketing organization. They have all kinds of facts about who is visiting the area, who is buying houses. Real estate people have sometimes been some of my best resources for what's moving and shaking in my community, because not only are people moving in, but people are moving out, and that can give you some pictures about what's going on with that. The local universities, if you have one, sometimes they have surveys and data on this. And there is also Lisa's website with University of Vermont has some different reports and things. And then Lisa and I talked about maybe sharing the organization GAN, Global Agritourism Network. Join that and you will talk to people all over the globe who are having similar situations and have different methods of finding where to get this data, where to get this information. Sometimes knowing what to ask is part of the problem, but getting that answer is critical. You need those answers.
Great response, Kelly. I'll mention that one person put a helpful response into chat, which is if you have a professional or trade organization, they can also be a good resource. Like this person is a Christmas tree farmer and they have a state association where they get together and share ideas.
Perfect, perfect. And there's Facebook groups like that as well that you can join and share. And one thing about the ag community, we love helping one another. We are not all about stomping on our friends and neighbors. We're not that kind of competitive. Right, this is like my favorite picture, the happy little goat, makes everybody giggle. Pricing is not always a laughing matter, however. What are you going to charge for your tours, your events, your products? How do you figure that out? How do your prices compare with your competitors? And does it really matter? If you're offering something really different, sometimes it's okay to be a little more expensive. Or you want to be careful when you price things, and if you're the cheapest, you need to explain why you're the cheapest. It's because we have a grant that allows us to offer this to you very affordably, or we're about educating you on the agricultural lifestyle, not about making money for our farm. Or why are you expensive? Well, because we live in an area that has really high property taxes. You don't necessarily put that out in your ad, but you make it clear to people that there's a value there to that pricing. There's a reason why you choose what you choose. And generally you'll find there's a real sweet spot where that is the price I need to charge. And in some cases, it's going to be too much for some people, and that's okay. You price some people out of your tour, because they're not people you want to talk to, or they're not pricey enough. And so you don't get the right mix. So play around with pricing. It's okay to do that. And then do you have extra assets? Like if the farmer is a chef too, or the harvester is a healer, think about ways to incorporate how those talents can be brought into the picture and capture that premium price. You've got not just a farmer who grows the food, but then they put it on the plate too. Wow, that shows you as the backyard gardener, how do I get that carrot out of my yard and into my kitchen and onto the plate and make it taste this good? What is the secret? So they know both ends of that. What do you feed it at the beginning and how do you prep it at the end? So pricing is really important. Oh, here's Bridget McConville. I think she's on the call. She's with Salmon King, the best salmon in the world. I'm not paid to give you this 30-second commercial. I just love her salmon and she's a sweetheart. Anyway, Bridget lets me use some of her photos. And now promotion is another section in AgPlan. And how do potential customers become aware of your product or services? Some people like to go to farmers markets and do free samples and things, or they go to another farm that has a roadside stand and they demonstrate their stuff there. Promotion can take on many forms, and there are so many different ways to do the promotion. You just have to get creative about it and think about it. One of the things I learned with promotion in saving advertising money was had a client that we bought in those penny savers nickel ad magazines where you have all the little readers that are 20 words for X dollars, and then there's a big display ad. Well, what we found was we could place about 10 of those little reader ads, I call them, and one display ad, and the reader ads got more attention for about 1/10 of the price of the big display ad. So the people reading those publications weren't looking at the big ads. They'd seen those in the regular newspaper. In the penny thing, they're looking for the hidden treasure. How many shows do you see on TV today about finding that hidden treasure? And what's its value? You know, roadshow, different shows that feature that. Anyway, there are ways to test things out. And promotion, another thing too that people don't think about, you spend money on a t-shirt or a coffee mug, that message is going out to the people. That message is every day that person uses that coffee mug or wears that t-shirt, they're advertising for you. Okay, so think about your promotional efforts now, or some that you've seen maybe if you're not already involved. And think about examples of social media campaigns. We just had the Super Bowl. Was there some ad that you thought was extremely clever, maybe very stupid, but very clever, reached the market they wanted to get? Your email contacts. Actually, in the world of marketing and advertising, we do call it farming your contacts. It's not a pun. It's what they do. They get their emails out and they sort them based on different criteria, and that's called farming your emails. Take a minute to share a few of your examples in the chat if you'd like. Creative ways you found to share your marketing message.
Okay, so one person asked, how did you determine the small ads were more effective than the large ad? And I'm going to expand that question to, in general, say, how do you know what works?
Brilliant question. Thank you for that. You usually provide codes or tags inside of things, like if you're looking, you have 2 phone numbers, or one's a cell number and one's a landline. You put the cell number in the reader ads and the landline in the display ads. If you're doing print media, you have them send their response to the ad or an email. You give them a particular email or a PO box that's only for the responses to that ad. It's a real simple, easy, fast way to get which one is working more, which phone rang more, which email box got filled more. There are much more advanced ways to do this, and they charge you a lot of money to figure it out for you. I'm giving you the cheap here, so that you can try it out, and then you can decide, you know what, I think I might want to hire somebody to do this for me. But that's probably some of the best ways I've figured it out, how to determine who's responding and who is not. Your hits on your Facebook pages, your insights will also help with that, or Instagram, etc. Okay, who are your strategic partners? And those are the people I've mentioned briefly here and there. Your DMOs and chambers of commerce, they do charge you to belong, but sometimes, they're content driven. I've been in this position where I'm trying to market a destination and you're just desperate. What are people doing out here? I live here. You'd think I would know, but it's amazing what can go on in your own neighborhood that you don't know anything about. So make sure that your Chamber of Commerce or your local DMO, which is Destination Marketing Organization, DMOs promote mostly tourism and overnight stays, and chambers, of course, can be a combination of tourism and business people. Those folks can get that word out for you. Art studios, where you partner up with somebody that's maybe weaving things or painting things, and they're in their studio and they're just 2 miles down the street from you. Include them in your tour. They can be one of those 12 choices you've got to have. Dining opportunities are important to join with them. If you're a farmer and that restaurant is using your salad, your lettuce and carrots on their plates, make sure there's a little tent card or one of those chalkboards that say, I got my greens from Kelly's farm. The museums are always looking for connections and driving business in. And in some cases, that museum has equipment that's part of your story, or they have pottery pieces that tell part of the story you're trying to tell as well. And then the last one I put here is media. If you get in to be good friends with some media people, and it does take a little work, but one of the things I found, in lieu of buying display ads, I would do what we call FAM tours, FAM, and they're short for familiarization. It's a big, hard word to throw out of your mouth. Familiarization tours are where you invite the media. It can be one person, it can be 2 or 3 people representing different media outlets. Maybe they're bigger newspapers in the urban areas near you. One example I give is that I had an opportunity to pay $10,000 for a half a page ad in a full color, very nice magazine that's local or part of the statewide publication in Colorado. And what I did instead was invited 3 media writers over and teamed up with a couple of bed and breakfasts, lodging properties, foodies, farmers, wineries, etc. And we built a 2-day tour. The result of that was a 2-page spread in the publication with the name and photos and links and all kinds of stuff, because it was printed and it was digital. And that 2-page spread was a fourth the price of that. It was what, $2,300, I think, is what I had to spend out of my budget, and the others comped all of their stuff. And so you can work together like that to get this media writer in. Then the 3 people wrote articles in their publications. One of them actually was a freelancer who wrote that had their stories picked up in 5 other publications. And we've literally had people walk through the door at farm tours holding the magazine saying, I saw you in AAA magazine, I'm here. And it's a good way to get in with them. And then the media people will also, all of a sudden they go, hey, Kelly, I need something for agritourism. What's going on in your neighborhood? Help me out here. And you give them some scoop. They want to know what's going on your farm. Some are more formal partnerships, like you pay to be part of the game. Your chamber might be that, or some associations. And then you need to think about who your important partnerships are and how do you benefit from them. Don't become a partner with somebody who's just sucking you dry for all of your hard work while they sit and wait for the customers to come in and they've done nothing. So make sure you pick that out fair. That reminds me, when you're dealing with the media also, you don't just look up some people or put an ad in the paper. Make sure you find out anybody responds to your requests. Make sure you get other publications they've printed, been involved in, and make sure it's within the last 2 years. Get some, references from other people. See who they're producing for. Last thing you want to do is spend all of your good effort and this person gets a 2-day vacation for free, and oh, my husband wants to come with me. So now you're paying for 2, and you find out that the last time they were published was 5 years ago. That is not a good deal, and you're being taken. So vet those people, I guess is what I'm saying. So now here's the last slide in this series for me is who are some of your strategic partners and businesses? Who could they be? Who are your best customers? Do you have something new? Baby lambs. Hey, baby lambs are always a big hit. And a new varietal of wine. Maybe you have live music every Thursday night. Some of these things you might say, oh, well, everybody in our neighborhood has baby lambs. But people in Denver or the big city near you, they don't know you have baby lambs or that everyone near you has baby lambs. So make sure you toot your own horn. Inside of this now, Lisa, there's a bunch of examples, and I'm going to run through these kind of quickly so we have a little time for Q&A, but these are marketing trends for Lakeshore Orchard. They're a sample inside the AgPlan, and you'll see it when you go into AgPlan. Down at the bottom, there's, I think, 4 different tabs. There's tips and resources and that kind of thing. And these guys are an example, Lakeshore Orchard. And it gives you an idea of what kinds of things, what are the trends they were looking for. Who in my area is promoting tourism? Who's having good luck with tourism? Special demographics are the trends in your neighborhood that are changing. Real estate dynamics, we talked about that just a little bit. They've got some good things. If nothing else, as one person said, I don't even know what to ask. Well, this gives you some ideas about what to ask. Fresh apple market trends. What is going on there? Here's a picture of their building. Finger Lakes, they're in the wine, Finger Lakes wine industry, the Lakeshore Orchard is, and they're near that. So they get a lot of wine sippers and enthusiasts. They also have other products. So here's one of the things you want to look at with you is, do you just have a tour of the orchard, or do you have products that you sell from your orchard? Do you have a retail shop that sells pie plates or t-shirts or stuffed apples, like stuffed plush toy apples, not stuffed with pecans and caramel? Need to make that clear. Think about your key objectives, your metrics, promotional tactics, on-farm conversion. That means, boy, I put out this ad and I had 312 people respond to it. And when it was all said and done, I only ended up with 80 sales out of the deal. So how much did I spend to market it? And what did I get on my return? That's your ROI. So how did that convert? How did your marketing attempts convert to sales? Your target customers, it gives some examples there, the offerings, wine trail baskets. Just a real quick thing, some of you on farms that have some ready to eats or fun things, if there's a company near you that's doing bike trails or hikers that are coming in to go hike up to a really cool rock art site, maybe you can sell them ready-made picnic basket things that they just come at your farm and grab them and go. They're uber fresh, ready to go. Some of the key factors in their competitive advantage was, or the key factors were their price, service, and product differentiate. They have low overhead, they have price competitiveness. Again, you can see what the topics are and how they answered them. And now, Lisa, I'm going to turn it over to you for AgPlan or questions. You take the show from here.
Okay, well, why don't we've gotten some really great feedback in chat about different things that people have been doing. So I was thinking we could take a moment to share that, and we do have a little extra time. So if people have questions and tips, marketing tips. Feel free to drop them into chat. Alan, Christmas Tree Farmer, has been providing a lot of good suggestions.
Oh, good.
Ranging from developing a relationship with a local social media influencer. So this media influencer comes to visit every year. And that way, that allows the farmer to tap into the media influencers, followers, and vice versa. Alan also does sell a lot of branded apparel, like Kelly had mentioned, and considers that free year-round advertising.
Yeah.
And they sell these items at a lower markup because of their promotional value. So they want the apparel to be sold so it can do its work and spread the news of their farm.
And the other thing is, on your taxes, it can be considered expenses for marketing. It's not just products that you buy to sell, it's marketing as well. So you got some good tax breaks there.
Someone else, Sylvianne, mentioned that this can feel uncomfortable for some people, but they reached out to their local edible magazine,
Yes.
which was Edible Ottawa, and they self-promoted their story and farm, and it totally worked. Edible magazines, any type of media, they're looking for content, and you are beautiful, exciting, fresh content.
Yep.
So Edible Ottawa picked up their story, gave them a 4-page spread and the cover. So,
oh, nice. Very
yeah,
good.
Sylvian's point was do the self-promotion. And I would add, if you personally don't feel comfortable doing that, see if you have a family member, business partner, or someone in your circle who does feel more comfortable and is willing to do the promotion.
Right. Well, along with the edible magazines, Modern Farmer is another one that is always looking for out-of-the-box kinds of farming techniques and thinking about agriculture, and thinking about combining agriculture and food with history. There's an article years ago where they did a story about this bed and breakfast that is near an archaeological site where they found a bunch of pots. And when they examined the pots and they did their research, they found that they were pots that held food, and it told them what kind of food that those people were eating. So this woman with her B&B takes these students over to the archaeological site where they get to see these things and maybe even participate in the dig. I'm not sure about that. But then they come back to her place and they prepare the foods that were found stored in these jars. And she's in somewhere in Italy. Modern Farmer is worldwide. But, one of the things that I think farmers sometimes forget, that what you do is a mystery for some people. It's I've done tours with not just the media, but with groups. People didn't know onions grew in the ground. I had one lady who couldn't tell the difference between an emu and an alpaca, which created quite a lot of hilarity for the tour bus group. One's got 2 legs, the other has 4. What's hard to figure out? One's a bird, one's not. Anyway, there are things that are mysteries. And think about what you do every day is not something the rest of us do every day. And it can be intriguing, it can be fun, it can be so rewarding to get that dirt under your fingernails, and then when you wash it all off, it feels so good. So make sure that you reach out to people and don't feel bashful that what you do is boring or it's mundane or it's dirt under my fingernails. No, it's so much more to some other people out there, and sell that to them. So
here's another question for you, Kelly. We have a little bit of time left. Emma is asking, how do people track traffic and sales and activities? Are they doing it themselves? How do they do it? And I know there's a number of different ways to do it. So I wonder if you can touch on some of the options, Kelly.
Some people might want to throw something into the chat, but one of the things I've seen is when you come to the farm, you have a different kind of a ticket color to determine which marketing category you fit into. They ask you to fill out a questionnaire, which a lot of people don't always like to do. You can, when they come to the farm, you give them a wristband, and that wristband indicates how they heard about you. And that's all it does. It doesn't get them in for anything special unless you say, mention that you saw us in Modern Farmer and you get a free glass of wine or a jar of jelly, whatever. There are those kinds of techniques. Outside of just having a gatekeeper, somebody at the door that's literally ticking boxes off on a chart, which you don't want to stop people and ask them necessarily. That can distract from what's going on with the farm tour. But mild observations, and that can be expensive to have somebody stand there and pay attention to what's going on. But through ticket sales, that's one of the best ways to do it, is those tickets when they show up at the door. What ticket are they holding? How did they find out about you? And another way we've seen is to get them to fill out the survey. They tell you where they are and they leave it in the little fishbowl at the end of the counter. And then once a month you pick out a winner and they get a free tour or a free bottle of wine or a lamb's wool scarf, whatever. You pick what you want to give them. And that's a way to get people to fill out those surveys. Did we get some responses in the chat as well, Lisa? I know there's just so many.
Yes, people are appreciating the marketing tips, but nothing, I'm not seeing a specific response on how people are specifically tracking.
Yeah.
And
You
I mean,
can,
the tracking is like so many things where you can do it on your own for relatively low money, but then you're using your time, your personal time and energy to do it. It's always a trade-off between time and money and doing it yourself versus hiring somebody else to help
right.
you do it. The idea is that there are some market research firms.
Yes.
Some of them are large and charge a lot of money. Some of them may be more locally focused in your area and maybe more affordable. Do you want to talk a little bit about those options, Kelly?
Yeah, again, I would definitely talk to your SPDC, your local farming associations, Rocky Mountain Farmers Union. Oh, I'm sorry, I forget we're not in just Colorado. There are different organizations that track this information and are happy to share it with you. Your Chamber of Commerce, your economic development organization in your community will oftentimes help you determine who is visiting and why are they visiting, even, ages and etc. And then you can also look somewhat at your Facebook and Instagram. You can look at those and they break things out by male, female, age category, that sort of thing. It's pretty broad, but it does give you a little bit of a picture. And it's, again, it does come down to there's ways to do it where you do it yourself and it can be really affordable, or, it's just your time, not paying someone else, or you can pay to have surveys done and they can be expensive. I would definitely look to some of your ag universities and colleges nearby, your extension offices. They all were going to have some of the best, most current data out there. I have over the years been saying, people say, well, what do you do, Kelly? And I say, I'm in agritourism. I market agritourism. And they look at me like I have two heads and a tail. And they just, what is agritourism? And it is a term that is hard for some people to get their heads around. It started out from a Life magazine article, and the guy called it agritainment, which might be an even better word, but it never stuck. And we call it agritourism, close to Agriturissimo out of Italy. It's just one of those things that you want to remember when you're doing it, that it's about visitors, and they're visitors, not tourists. We don't always like the Griswolds of the world showing up. But anyway, thank you all for listening and taking the time. I think we're short enough that, Lisa, you need to wrap up. Again, thank you. And I can't tell you enough, this AgPlan is tremendous. It's an easy template. It will help you out in so many ways. And if you have questions, there are some resources that you can tap into.
We want to thank everybody who's been keeping up with AgPlan. Once again, we have homework, marketing section in AgPlan. And again, like we talked about last week and the week before, if you prefer to do this pen and paper or, just in a Word document on your computer, you don't have to use AgPlan. But if you're interested in using AgPlan, we'll drop the link into chat, and we'll also send out the link in a follow-up email to you. And it's also on our website, which is where we're capturing the recordings and resources that come up each time. So your homework for next week is to continue to think about marketing and complete a draft of the marketing section. And then on next Tuesday, we're going to be talking about management and organization. And we are going to be joined by Dee Sing Knights from West Virginia University. And she's going to walk us through the AgPlan questions and business plan way of thinking about management and organization. Could we have the next slide, Kelly? At any time when you are working on your business plan, whether it's in AgPlan or not, feel free to reach out to the Center for Farm Financial Management at University of Minnesota. They're a partner on this project, and they're the developers of AgPlan. But even if you're not using AgPlan, you're welcome to get in touch with them. We've got a phone number in the US for them, as well as an email address and their website. And this link, go.uvm.edu/agplan, is where this recording will be posted, along with the homework assignment and anything else you need to get things done. In closing, we've got a short survey. If you've been with us already, we've already asked you to do this survey, and sorry, we're asking you to do it again each week, just to weigh in and tell us what you're learning, where you're at, and how this could be more helpful. And one of the best parts about this survey is it does ask whether you are interested in having one-on-one assistance. If that's something that you're interested in, make sure you fill out that question. And we are, towards the end of this process, we're going to try to do some matching so that folks in Colorado will know how to reach out to Kelly, and folks in West Virginia will know how to reach out to Dee Sing Knights and Rachel Callahan in California, and various colleagues around the country and in other worlds who are part of this program. And that's really all I have in summary. Any final closing words, Kelly?
I just, once again, having that business plan and all of its components, even if it's not extremely fat and thick, it shows that you took some time and effort and thought about what you're doing, is so much more impressive when you're seeking funding or support from others, whether it's from your grandmother or the bank down the street. They need to see that you've thought about what you're doing. You've done some research. You didn't just decide, oh, everybody loves my lollipops, I'm going to go into the lollipop making business. You understand what you're getting into. And we at AgPlan and part of this series, we want you to go into this with your eyes wide open as well. We want you to spend money where it needs to be spent, or don't spend it at all. If agritourism is not going to work for you, it works for a lot of people for some really cool reasons, and can do a lot for you. But make sure you do this. I'm preaching to the choir, maybe. Get your business plan done. It just can help you so much, so very much.
And don't let perfect be the enemy of getting it done. The point is to skip sections that don't make sense to you. And you don't have to, like Kelly said, it doesn't have to be super long. Just put in some initial ideas. Just having something, a first draft, is the best way to get started. So thank you all so much for joining us today, and hopefully we'll see you next Tuesday. Have fun with your homework.